Has the latest media report led you to believe that your home's equity has dropped? Home equity has been a hot topic in the real estate news lately. And if you've been following along, you may have heard there's a growing number of homeowners with negative equity. But don't let those headlines scare you, because in truth, the headlines don't give you all the information that you really need to understand what's happening and at what scale. So we're going to break down one of the big equity stories you may have been seeing in the news and find out what's actually taking place. That way, you'll have the context you need to understand the big picture. Headlines focus on short-term equity numbers and fail to convey the long-term view. One piece of news that's circulating focuses on the percentage of homes purchased in 2022 that are currently underwater. And the term underwater refers to a scenario where the homeowner owes more on the loan than the house is actually worth. I mean, this was a huge issue in the housing market crash in 2008, but it is much less significant today. Media coverage right now is based loosely on a report from the Black Knight Inc. The actual report from this source says, quote, of all homes purchased with a mortgage in 2022, 8% are now at least marginally underwater, and nearly 40% have less than 10% equity stakes in their home. So let's unpack that a little bit. Let's find out what the bigger picture is actually saying here. The data-bound report from Black Knight is talking specifically about homes that were just purchased in 2022, but media headlines don't always mention the time frame or provide the surrounding context about how unusual of a year 2022 was for the housing market. I mean, in 2022, home price appreciation soared and it reached its max around March and April, right? Well, since then, the rate of appreciation has been slowing down, and homeowners who bought their house last year right at the peak, or those who paid more than market value in the months that followed, are more likely to fall into that category of being marginally underwater. So the qualifier marginally is another key piece of that puzzle. The media isn't necessarily including that in their coverage. So what does that mean for those who actually purchased a home in 2022? Well, it is important to remember that owning a home is a long-term investment, not a short-term play. So when headlines focus on those real short-term views, they're not necessarily providing the full context. Typically speaking, the longer you stay in your home, the more equity you're going to gain as you pay down your loan and as home prices appreciate, right? With the recent market conditions, you may not have gained significant equity right away if you own the home for just a few months, but it's also true that many homeowners who recently bought their houses are unlikely to be looking to sell quite yet, so they're building that equity as we go. So the bottom line is, like, as with everything, knowing the context is very important. If you have questions about real estate headlines or about how much home equity you have in your home, talk to your local real estate advisor for the actual numbers and data. Very important.